Marjorie Taylor Greene is falling into a dangerous trap, and I'm here to give her some advice. See, the trap works like this. The corporate media hates on a Republican, prints nasty and misleading articles about them, smears them every chance they get, palpably hates them. But then that Republican does one thing that the Democrats like, in this case, siding against Donald Trump on a single issue. Then the corporate media begins to say, you know what? Maybe we were wrong about this Republican. It turns out they're actually super duper great. The Republican politician thinks to themselves, wow, I must be doing something right. Look at all these wonderful articles that are now being written about me. So they double down and side with the Democrats more often. This trap just leads to the politician losing touch with the base that elected them and ultimately preemptively ending their own political career. I'd say that MTG is smart enough to see this coming, but I think we all know that would be a lie. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Well, hello, everyone. Okay, welcome. We have two topics. Actually, kind of three topics that we're going to talk about in this video. We are going to talk about MTG and also talk about this terrible story from Chicago about a woman being set on fire on one of the trains. Just the worst. And terrible story, but we're going to talk about crime and a little bit about where we're heading in that department. But first, before we get into that, my favorite comment from last week, and also the quasi-topic number 3, because I might talk about this for a few minutes, comes from our man Ludolf, who says, man, the haters really came out strong for this one. I think that means you're on the right track, end of quote. So I don't know if all of our longtime listeners noticed, we had an influx last week of commentary on the last episode. It was the most commented on episode we've ever had on the Chrestman Conversation. And I wouldn't waste your time reading many of the comments. They weren't very productive. I will say this. I anticipated this. I did prior to putting this episode out. I knew for a fact that it was not going to be well received by the segment of people that I was talking about. Mainly this growing part of the right, this, I would call them far right, because if that name has any meaning, it's describing who I'm talking about. But the Nick Fuentes wing of the conservative movement, this far right, young men driven movement. I knew that talking about this was going to receive a lot of backlash, and it did. I was not disappointed with the comments. They were incredibly nasty and rude and not productive. A couple, I will say, some people took the time to write things that I thought were decent, but I thought it was funny because on YouTube I was being attacked for being basically a Jew, and I mean that is what the comments were about. You smug Jews, you big-nosed Jews, you tiny hat loser, all these, terrible anti-Semitic comments. And I was prepared for this because, again, I thought that episode was going to be that. And again, you shouldn't let anything that people say on the internet bother you. This is just good life advice. The nice comments I get, I allow myself to feel a little good. If somebody says something nice, I say, good. But any bad comments, I just write them off entirely. They don't affect me negatively because I don't think that people who are rude on the internet have any validity to criticize me. They really don't. They're just, I think, to go on random channels on YouTube or wherever it is and just be rude and nasty, I think that's a you problem. That's me. That's my personal thing. You shouldn't let comments on the internet really get you one way or the other, positive, negative. You should just, your real life should be the thing that dictates your mood. So I was prepared for this. It's not something that was going to bother me, but I did think, what I'll tell you I really didn't expect was just how nasty some of the comments are and how blatantly hateful some of them are. Not all of them. I'm not going to say that. Every person who came out there didn't just say something anti-Semitic or racist, but there was quite a bit of that on there that I just say, oh, okay, well, that's who we're dealing with. That is who I'm talking about in that video. I do not care for people who want to come into my tent, who want to come in to try and be part of the conservative movement that are anti-Semitic or racist. Dinesh D'Souza was recently on the Trigonometry podcast, and he said this brilliantly. He was talking about how back in the 80s, when you were dealing with the people who were Reagan conservatives, you had this guard of Republican intellectuals who basically kept the riffraff out of the party. And what I mean by that is you would come in there and you want to make an argument. You say, affirmative action is bad. You're allowed in. Black people are monkeys. You're not allowed in. You don't get to participate. And you had these Republican intellectuals who were able to say, yes, there are really pointed and very concise arguments we can make against policies like affirmative action. And I make those arguments today. And I make those arguments because I think they're bad for black people. I don't make them because they're racist against whites. I think that's a secondary thing. But I'll make them because I think they're bad for everybody. I think the people they purport to help, the black community in this case, I don't think they're helping in the way that you think they do. And so when I say this, I say I don't think we should be discriminating against any group. And I also don't think that the benefits that you're saying are supposed to go to this group exist the way that you do. So you can make those arguments. But if you want to come in here and just say black people are inferior, we're not making the same argument and we're not coming from the same place. And I don't like you. I don't want you on my team. I don't care for that. I don't care for racism. I don't care for any of it. I make the argument, it's a principled argument. I've told you where my morals lie. My morals lie. The guiding principle, the ethos that runs my life is I want everyone to do well. I want everyone to succeed. There is no prejudice or bigoted bone in my body. All right? It doesn't exist. I'm not that guy. I really am not. People have accused me of that, which is what I find really funny about this last episode, is that for basically the majority of my career, talking about things and writing about things, when I would write for the paper, when I publish things on whatever, the American Thinker, or whatever it is, whenever I was writing or doing this, the comments under there always come from the left because I critique the left very hard. I do not like the progressive left. I do not like identity politics. I do not like the racialization of politics in America. I think it is bad. I think it's a bad thing. And the comments that I normally get talk about how, well, I must just not like black people. That's really the comment that I get a lot. Oh, you don't like black people. Oh, you must not like gay people. You must just hate trans people. No, I don't. I don't hate anybody. I really don't. And so when you come at me with this, I just dismiss it, brush it off entirely, because anyone who knows me, like if you know me in my personal life, you would never think this. You would never say that. You would never have any say, oh my gosh, what the heck? It's not true. Oh, you hate women. You hate black people. You hate gay people. I do not. I do not at all. I was pro gay rights before any Democrat politician in the country. Okay. So you're not going to ever come at me and say, I don't like groups of people. It's not true. So for me, when I look at this kind of stuff, I always thought that was funny. And so the funny thing about this last episode is that now it's the right. The right really is coming and saying, oh, well, you're just, you're playing the victim. You're using the Jew card to play the victim. Okay, whatever. You people, they're saying to me, you always do this. It's just ridiculous, by the way. So to me, it's ridiculous. The right doesn't like me, the left doesn't like me. And that's fine. I'm not here to be popular. That's really not my goal in life, is to be popular. I don't care. I do not care if people like me or hate me. The goal is to be honest. That's the goal. That's the one goal in life. You say what you think and you believe it. And if you do that, you're doing a good thing, because you might be wrong. It's possible I'm wrong about lots of things, but this is what I believe. I'm not saying things to make people like me. I'm not saying things to to get viewers or do any of this. I don't do that. I say what I think is true because I think it's useful and because I think it's a good thing to do. That's it. So to me, the only part of this thing that I found that I took to heart a little bit is how easily it is to find these ugly sections of the internet. You mentioned this guy's name, Nick Fuentes. You mentioned the Groypers. And the ugliness that you see that you want to pretend doesn't exist just comes out. So I say this. This is an argument I've made. I've made it for the last decade. I've made it publicly in many different forms. An argument that I would say is that when you look at discrepancies between white and black in America, which do exist, there are discrepancies in education, there's a discrepancy in health outcomes, there's discrepancies in income, there's all of these disparities between these groups. You look at these numbers, and you say the left side of the argument would say that racism causes these disparities. And I say, okay, that's fine. That you can't say that's not true, but I have to say, how much of it do you think it accounts for? Because the answer on the left is it's the reason. Period, full stop. That's the reason that the black people and white people have disparity between them because racism. That's the answer. And I say, okay, that's fine. But can you explain to me how? Why? Where does it come from? Where is the law or the person or the policy or the company or whatever? Where is this thing that we can point to and say, look, here's the racist thing? Because when you just say the word racism, it doesn't mean anything. Okay? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm just saying you have to show it to me. Where is it? Is it just because racism exists as a concept? It's out here. It's floating. It's floating as a concept out here in the ether. And we say, oh, there's the racism, and it's causing everyone to fail. Okay, I'm open to it, but just show me where it is, and I'm on your side. I don't like racism. Don't like it at all. So if you show me the person, the place, the organization, the law, the policy, whatever it is, you show me that thing that you say, that's racist. Okay, but when you just point to the discrepancy and you say that's racist, well, I say, well, is it though? Because I can draw a line through any two groups of people for any issue in the world. And if I just draw the line between them, the two sides being equal is not guaranteed. So I say racism certainly accounts for a portion, but what do you think? Because on the left, they say it's most of it or all of it. And I say, yeah, it's probably some of it, but isn't it probably some other things too, like personal choice or single motherhood rates in the black community or the propensity towards gang affiliation? Like, can't we say there's some cultural aspects that maybe contribute to this that aren't because white people are in there forcing people to be single mothers? Like that's not racism. No racism has doing that. It's not a bunch of white people going in there and impregnating black women and then leaving them. That's not what's happening. And I'm not saying any of this. But my point is, this is an argument that I would make that has nothing to do with racism that people have always accused of racism. So I talk about these issues and I say yes. And then you have these Nick Fuenteses of the world who want to come in here and then they will make comments. They'll talk about the same thing, but they talk about it in a different way. They'll say the same thing I'm saying, only then they tinge it with this other argument, which I hate from the right. So I hate the argument that it's all racism from the left. Well, I hate the argument on the right that I'm seeing more. Well, it's just because black people are inferior. This is something I like to ignore on the right because it's never been a big issue. It's the thing that Democrats pretend is the real argument. Like, I'll make an argument, no racial animosity whatsoever. And the people in politics on the right, I believe, make these arguments with no racial animosity. I do not think that there's a bunch of racists running around in Congress. But that, on the far right, I've always said, well, the reason why we can ignore them is because they don't hold power. And I'm worried that that is not true anymore because the blatant ugliness on the internet, it just is one video, it's disheartening in that way because I worry that if this becomes normalized, it's not going to lead to a Republican Party or a version of conservatism that I want anything to do with. And then I'm really going to be a man without a home because I had to leave the Democrat Party for the same reason, except on the reverse side. They became this woke monster that I didn't want anything to do with because I don't like that version of politics. I do not like identity politics. I don't like separating people off into groups, and I hate that. And the left did that a decade ago, and I left. And now I'm looking at it on the right, and I'm saying, you're doing the same thing. This identity politics on the right, and it's ugly, and it's gross, and I hate it. So I don't know where it goes, but I just know that I don't love where we're at. And anyway, don't read the comments on that last video. It's ugly. Anyway, let's get off. Let's talk about something different. Let's talk about MTG, because topic one, MTG is the new Liz Cheney. I keep wanting to say MGT. I have no idea why. I have to keep, every time I say it in my head, I have to fight it. MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This lady, okay, for those of you who don't know, if you're not into politics every day, you don't really follow, you don't know. She's one of the more prominent people on the right. I think undeservedly. I'll just say that right from the top. I do not care for her. But she basically she's a conspiracy theorist. And I know, as a guy who has been accused of being a conspiracy theorist, that is a dismissive term that people use for people who are right a lot of the time. You got to be kidding me. Winnie, you out your damn mind. Look at this cat. Who you think you are walking up in here? You want to say hello? Say hello. What are you doing? Winnie? You got all these fans out here. You never want to say hi to them. So a conspiracy theorist, it's a term used to just dismiss people. And I know, because people said that about me when it came to COVID. I know I'm 100% right on COVID. You all remember. So, but she's part of those conspiracy theories that I'm like, oh, okay. You know, she's like the person who would be into Pizzagate or QAnon or all the kind of out there conspiracy theories. And she was a writer for some conspiracy theory website that doesn't exist anymore because it was silly. But she rose to prominence being a big MAGA supporter with Donald Trump. When Donald Trump was running, she all of a sudden just basically came out of nowhere. And all you see in Marjorie Taylor Greene is out there speaking at Donald Trump rallies. And you're going, wow, who is this person? Because from the jump, I always thought she just said ridiculous things. She said silly things, and I don't think she ever came across as particularly bright. But Donald Trump tapped her for some reason, so she became popular because anyone that Donald Trump knights gets popular. So she runs for Congress. She gets elected in Georgia. She goes to Congress. She's basically immediately the cause of a lot of controversy on the right and good for headlines. So again, the news media, they'll elevate people who are good for clicks, and she became this person who's good for clicks because she's in there fighting with people from Congress and doing all these things. And she was there was one important thing she was involved in Congress, but that's about it as far as I can see. She was involved in the Democrats voted to remove her from her committee assignments. So this is a big deal in Congress because basically the way it works, you have all these committees, whatever it is, the Security Commission, blah, 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 all these committees, all these different committees for all these different things. And some of them are pretty prestigious and some of them are not. So she got appointed to a couple committees, and then she made some comments which people found vulgar, or they uncovered some old tweets. I don't remember the exact story. But what I do remember is the way that it works is the Republican leadership gets to appoint people to the committees, and the Democrat leadership gets to appoint their people to the committees. That's the way it works. You split them in half. You say, here are the Republicans we're going to put on that committee, here are the Democrats, and the leadership gets to choose who goes on what committee. Well, the Democrats broke tradition by voting to remove her from her committee assignments. This was a big deal at the time, and there was a fight over it in Congress because the Democrats basically said, no, she's so vulgar, we're not going to have her on these committees. You don't get to seat her. And basically there was this big back and forth between Mike Johnson and them. It was a big move for Democrats to do this. So that's how much she is disliked by Democrats at the time. She's arguing with people in Congress. I actually have a video here of two of my least favorite people in Congress arguing. Actually, three, now that I think about it. Three of my least favorite people in Congress arguing. But this is the kind of the soaring rhetoric and big ideas that we want from people in Congress. They kind of sound like this.
Here about
I
don't
think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Fake eyelashes.
And I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attach the physical appearance of another person? Are your feelings hurt? Her words down. Oh, girl, baby girl. Oh, really? Don't even play, baby girl. We are gonna move, and we're gonna take your words down.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
Calm down.
No,
can you please calm down?
Don't tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I come and talk about her, y'all gonna have a problem.
Okay, so obviously Congress is a joke, right? And we can all agree that that's Jasmine Crockett. I saw somebody calling her Ratchet Crockett the other day, and that's pretty funny. So it's Jasmine Crockett and Marjorie Taylor Greene and AOC getting in an argument about fake eyelashes and bleach blonde, butch body, whatever. Give me a second. I'm going to say it. There's going to be it. Women be petty. All right. All right. I don't know what to tell you. It's just, come on. Could you imagine? I don't know. There was like a duel fought in Congress between men, and now they're arguing about fake eyelashes. And it's just silly. Anyway, but that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's out here arguing, making fun of people, and all three of those people just look like an absolute joke. She also made the comment about Jewish space lasers, which she denies, by the way, but absolutely did say basically that she thought the Jews were using lasers to light fires in California, because she accused the Jewish elites of lighting the fires to get clearance for this project that they wanted, and then said that people reported they saw lasers. So she's like, I never said Jewish space lasers. Well, you accused the Jewish elite of lighting fires and then said people saw lasers. So they're just saying Jewish space lasers because that's basically what you implied. She's a moron. All right, I really don't have nice words to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I really don't now. I didn't before, because she's not a deep thinker. She's not a person that I want. Again, I think, this is just me, I don't mind when people argue in Congress. I think it's a good thing. I think that there should be arguments, there should be discussion. If it gets heated, it gets heated. But it really bothers me the level of rhetoric that we have in these elected politicians, because we like to think, when you're a kid and you think about adults, you think of someone who's 30, and you look up and you go, wow, they're so smart, and they have it all figured out. And one day I'm going to be that age, and I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to have it figured out, because these adults, they just know things. And then you grow up and you're 30 and you look around and it's all the kids you went to school with who ate paste, and you go, oh my God, they're all morons. That's kind of how I feel about Congress. I feel like regular Americans look up to people in Congress and they think, well, they got to be smart. That guy's a lawyer. He got elected to Congress. He's got to be smart. And then you realize that, oh no, they're not. They're just regular people who happen to get elected. You think lawyers are smart. You think doctors are smart. And these guys go to school and they do something. That's kind of a filter system for absolute morons. But you don't have to be a genius to do those things. You really don't have to be that smart to be a doctor. You really don't have to be that smart to be a lawyer. There's always a guy who graduates last in medical school. You know what I mean? Like, that's always a thing. So to me, you're looking around, you go, oh, and then one day you have this realization, you say, oh, man, they're all morons. Like, the smart people in Congress, they exist, obviously. Like, I think Ted Cruz is a really smart person, but it's not the norm. You realize that. And obviously, in the Senate, it's a little different in the House. The senators are a little more well-studied. They're a little more well-spoken, and they have a little more prestige than their House colleagues who are just sort of unruly. But she is particularly bad. One of my least favorite people in Congress. And in the last couple months, she has done something that I don't know how her political career survives. Her entire thing is that she's MAGA. That's her thing. She's MAGA. She's with Donald Trump. She's a fighter. She's there to give it to the Democrats and doesn't care what you have to say. That's her whole brand. Well, she's moved away from the president, and it started with Gaza. She's criticizing Israel, talking about Gaza. Okay, you can kind of go, all right, whatever. We can ignore that. As a Republican base, fine to criticize the way that Israel has conducted the war and have good criticisms. That's fine. All right, fine. We're all allowed to have disagreement. But now this Epstein thing, she is fighting to get these documents released and has gone against the Republican leadership. She's calling out Mike Johnson, saying, what's he hiding? What's Donald Trump hiding? I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. She has done all of this about the Epstein files, which I've gone over, is just a nonsense issue, top to bottom. I have gone over it time and again. I do not think there's anything to this Epstein thing. I don't. I used to. I don't anymore. And the reason I don't is because it's been years and years and years, and I have seen zero evidence. So I'm not interested in theories. I'm not interested in anything, because all of the people who have released anything that's ever been released, it's shown us nothing. No conspiracy to commit blackmail or extortion, a lot of trafficking for Jeffrey Epstein himself, But none of this stuff about a blackmail ring or intelligence operations or blah, blah, blah. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel get in there. They say, hey, guys, I would love to blow this whole thing wide open, but we just don't have anything. So I don't think they're all lying. I think it's nonsense. I think she's making a nonsense issue. And I think that it's ridiculous. She's been kicked out of the Freedom Caucus because she was arguing with Republicans more than Democrats. And she's alienating everyone on the right. And now she's playing the victim. Oh my gosh. Well, now the right doesn't like me because I'm just out here trying to find the truth. I got to find the truth about Epstein because for some reason. And Trump comes out. He eventually has to say something because this is a person he elevated. He did this. He elevated her and made her important even though she's a dummy. And so he insults her. He calls her a traitor. And then she comes out. This is her statement. I want to read this because it is kind of funny. She said, quote, the most hurtful thing Trump said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor. And that is so extremely wrong. And those type of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger. End quote. Give me a break. Unbelievable. Oh my God, Donald Trump said something mean about me. I know I've never criticized him when he said mean things about all the Democrats for years and years and years, but now he said I'm a traitor because I'm doing stupid things and he put me in danger and I could die. Grow up. You're in politics. Be an adult. Rhetoric, I'm so sick of this talk about rhetoric. Oh, the charged rhetoric. We all just need to calm down. I don't care. I agree. You shouldn't say things that are untrue. Oh my God, he called me a traitor. Someone's going to kill me. It's such a weak defense for anything. Who cares? I agree that the Democrats, their rhetoric put Donald Trump and Republicans on the map. This idea that you're calling him a fascist, you're calling him Hitler, you're saying that democracy is ending. This kind of stuff is nonsense. I do. I think it's terrible. I think it's bad for democracy. But I'm sick of hearing about it. Oh, Donald Trump has said that. Donald Trump has been outspoken, would be a nice way of saying it. Outspoken for years about his feelings about Democrats. I've never heard Marjorie Taylor Greene say a damn thing about it. And now he turns it on her and she says, he's putting my life in danger. Grow up. Republicans like her, she wants to go on all the talk shows. She wants to go on Real Time. She wants to go on The View. She wants to do these Democrat things. I'm sick of it. The trap is real. She wants to be liked. This is the dirty secret about Republicans. They just want to be liked. They want to be popular. She gets all this hate in the media, and then immediately she says, oh, wait a minute. I get to go on The View now, and they're going to be nice to me on The View? I'll say, you know what? I apologize for all the mean, nasty things I said. I just want everyone to be nice. And then they go clap. They go, oh, my God, Marjorie Taylor, she's turning over a new leaf, guys. Look at how good she is. Oh, she wants to go on Real Time with Bill Maher and say, hey, Bill, can't we all be buddies? Hey, that's great. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't think you've turned over a new leaf. What I think you've turned over is a newfound popularity, and you really like it, and I think it's kind of gross. Also, I think she's going to get primaried and lose. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because these kind of Republicans just annoy me. This Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm a Republican, but I'm going to vote against everything the Republicans want. Okay, this is where that term rhino actually makes sense to me. Republican in name only. You got elected as a Republican. Why are you fighting against the Republican leadership? Donald Trump has maybe a year, maybe a year before his agenda could be totally killed because Republicans might lose control of Congress. He has a year to enact his legislative agenda. Ram it through Congress. Why are you fighting with Republicans? Fall in line. I do mean that. Fall in line and get Donald Trump's agenda taken care of. That's what needs to happen. That's what needs to do. And these Republicans, I didn't care. Liz Cheney, she can go bye-bye. Mitt Romney, you can go bye-bye. Marjorie Taylor Greene, you can go bye-bye. Get out. Go away. We don't need infighting in the Republican Party right now. We don't. Because there's enough of that, by the way. We're going to have to fight against this far-right, creeping, fascist-loving nonsense on the right that I can't stand. We're going to have to fight against that. We don't need to have a fight about Epstein. We don't need Mike Johnson to be attacked in Congress. Mike Johnson's doing a fantastic job. We don't need one of the junior members of Congress attacking Mike Johnson. That's what we don't need. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just makes me so annoyed. Get out of there. Somebody, I hope she gets primaried. I hope she loses just because of this. Just because she goes on The View and is nice to Joy Behar. That's why. More than anything else. That's it. I hope she loses because of that. And I don't know. I hope that people like this learn that this person's not a hero. The Democrats now think, oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene's a hero. No, she's not. She's still a moron. She always has been, always will be. She doesn't do anything productive. She's just a CrossFit gym owner adulteress who says dumb things. That's what she is. She's not a thought leader. She's not important in the MAGA movement. She's not an important Republican politician. She just doesn't need to be on a magazine cover. She just doesn't. She's not that important. But it's the same thing with the members of the squad. You could say the Republicans do this, but kind of, but also not. The squad, when they were all junior members, your Ilhan Omar and your Rashida Tlaib and your AOC, you could say they don't really hold that much power, but they were elevated because the media just decides to make them. Every story is going to be that. Nancy Pelosi is going to be on the cover with AOC. Why? This junior member of the House with the leader and most powerful person in Congress is going to, for what purpose? Because the media liked her, and they made AOC what she is. Well, they're doing that with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They made Marjorie Taylor Greene what she is. She's not important. She doesn't do anything important. She's not obviously not on important committees in Congress. She is just not that important, but we have to talk about her anyway. Anyway, I hope she gets primaried. Hope she loses. I want to move on because I'm sick of talking about her. So let's go to topic 2. Why can we not control crime? I'm going to go through these pretty quick because I don't like talking about this. But I have 2 stories I want to share with you. One, this week, a 26-year-old woman was lit on fire by a 50-year-old man while she was riding the train in Chicago. The guy's name is Lawrence Reed. He went to a gas station. He filled a little bottle with gasoline. He goes to the train. He sprays it on this poor girl who just minding her own business and lights her on fire. Reed he already was on an ankle monitor because of an attack that he was already going to go to trial for. He committed aggravated battery against a social worker at McNeil Hospital, Psychiatric and Behavioral Health. He knocked this person out, knocked him unconscious. They had to go to the ER. He was arrested. He goes to jail for a day. They arraign him. And the Cook County prosecutors asked the judge. They said, hey, will you keep this guy in custody? He's dangerous. But the judge, this lady, Teresa, whatever it is, Monica Gonzalez, I think. What is her name? Teresa Gonzalez. She placed him on an ankle monitor. She said, nah, he can be released. He'll go on an ankle monitor. This guy, Lawrence Reed, he had 50 prior arrests, including multiple felony convictions, 10 felony arrests, 6 convictions, 6 felony convictions. I don't know how many of the other 40 arrests were also convictions, but he had 6 felony convictions. 2 months ago, Reed was suspected of punching 4 women outside of the Harold Washington Library. Last week, he was suspected of lighting fire to the Chicago City Hall, like outside of the building. This is just last week. And then he punched somebody at the psychiatric hospital. He's on an ankle monitor. He once tried to burn down the building that Governor J.B. Pritzker was supposed to be in, but that charge was dropped for some reason. You're talking about the most basic function of government, to protect your citizens. That's the most basic function. That's why government exists. More than anything else, it's to protect its citizens. This is a catastrophic failure that we see again and again and again. And this failure of the justice system has resulted in a young woman having her life ruined. And that's if she survives. She's in critical condition. She'll never be the same. 50% of her body was burned. It's terrible. And this is the kind of thing that you say a regular person off the street, common sense individual, 9 times out of 10 could look at this and do a better job than the judge who oversaw this man's case where deciding to release him into public. It is absurd that judges like Teresa are allowed to practice, are allowed to sit on the bench after a case like this. This judge should be removed from office, maybe even put in prison. And you're going to say, oh my God, that's so extreme. I don't think so. Because judges like this miscarriage of justice is not entirely her fault, but it mostly is. What regular person can look at this and say, oh, yeah, that guy should be on the streets. Oh, yeah, that makes sense to me. Let's release this guy out on the streets. When the state removes cash bail, which is what Illinois did, they got rid of cash bail. Oh, congratulations, Illinois, you're doing a great job. The decision is up to the court who gets to stay in custody, who gets released. The prosecutor in this case said this man is a danger, and the judge ignored them, and now this woman's life is ruined if she survives. What's the punishment for the judge? What do we think should happen? Because I think that judges like this should be held responsible in some manner. First of all, she should never practice again. You made a case that went specifically against what the prosecutors thought. You show this to 100 people on the street, 99% of them say, oh, yeah, that guy should be in jail, obviously. Look at him. He's got 50 prior arrests, 6 felony convictions before this. Yeah, he should be in jail forever. Why is he out of jail? Why is he not in jail right now? You should keep him forever. The judge goes, oh, no, this guy, he's clearly going to be a benefit to society. Why don't we just release him? I get it. You don't want to violate someone's rights. That's good. I believe in that. You shouldn't violate people's rights. Let me tell you something about the law, though. Let me explain something to you, Teresa. Let me talk specifically to you, Judge Teresa. The law is there to protect people. That's really what it's for. It's for justice, and justice means keeping the peace. Justice means it's for the victims, but it's also for the living, because imprisoning people who do bad things is not only good for society, it's good for them, because out there being mentally ill, being addicted to drugs, not making rational decisions, that's not good for them. Put them in jail. That's where they belong. They don't belong in the psychiatric facility. They belong in jail. When you commit crimes, you go to jail. This guy was clearly unwell. And I say that because it's not a defense. This isn't an insanity plea. That doesn't get you off. It doesn't discount responsibility. But he clearly was off because no sane, rational person lights random people on fire. He's a psychopath. So you put this man in jail, but he should have been there first. And the reason he should have been there first is because it's good for him, good for society. And let me explain to you. Here's the part about crime that I really wanted to get to. There's a difference in crime. Crime is not crime. All right? Crime is a catch-all word for a bunch of different stuff. And some of it's less bad, some of it's more bad, but it's all bad. It's all degrees of bad. I go to the store, I take a candy bar, I walk out of the store. I have committed a crime. It's bad. I shouldn't do that. I stole $1 worth of candy from the store. That's bad. It's a crime. I could be arrested for this. Okay. Now, you can talk about what the level of punishment for that candy bar should be. Okay. That's fine. That guy, you could probably release him on the street. If he just stole a candy bar this one time, you say, that guy probably doesn't need to go to jail. It's really not that big of a crime, but you got to be arrested. It's got to go on your record, and don't do it again. And you say, all right, I was dumb. Don't steal a candy bar. That's kind of, okay, that's low-level crime. That's how we handle it. You arrest him. You say, well, he was spray painting a building. Obviously, you don't want to go to prison for 10 years for spray painting a building. I don't think that would be just or fair, but it can't not be punished. So you're going to be arrested. It's going to go on your record. Don't do it again. Okay. All right, fine. If it becomes a pattern, you go to jail. You do it twice, you go to jail. You do it 3 times, you definitely go to jail. But those aren't really the kind of crimes I'm concerned with. I think you have to police those. You have to punish those in some way. Now, we can argue about what that is, whether it's a low-level stint in jail, which I actually think would be an appropriate punishment, even for small crimes like that. You say, you're going to do a week in jail. Or you steal a candy bar, you're going to do a week. All right, that's like the minimum. Oh, shit. All right, well, I don't want to go spend a week in jail. That's bad. So don't do those low-level crimes. I think that's better than nothing. Like, you don't arrest people and just release them. There have to be some sort of punishment. And being arrested isn't really a punishment if you immediately just get out. You get arrested, you get let out the same day. It's not really a punishment. So anyway, we can argue about that. What I'm worried about in society, and what I think judges like Teresa don't understand, is that the crime that concerns me is not 2 men getting in a fight. 2 guys, they square off, they exchange fighting words, they fight. Or 1 guy violates another person's physical space. He gets in there, your face threatening, and there's a fight. Like, if somebody gets in my face, I'm going to do this. All right, go to long guard, Muay Thai. Let's talk a little Muay Thai. Go to long guard. Get here. Let's do this. Oh, all right. I'm going to go to Lawn Guard, and I'm going to tell you, hey, you got to stay away from me. If you violate my personal space, I'm only going to assume it's to do me harm. We're going to fight. That's what's going to happen. We're about to fight. I'm not concerned with grown men fighting. All right? I'm not concerned with a fair fight where two people, like, engage in fisticuffs. That doesn't really concern me. I don't think those guys should really go to jail. I think the punishment is whoever loses the fight, you lose. Don't fight people if you don't know how to fight. That's just my advice. Don't fight people in general, but definitely don't fight if you don't know how to fight. Here is where I think we make a mistake as a society. If I walk down the street and I see a woman coming towards me and I reach out and I punch her in the face, no provocation, no reason, I just hit her for some reason and I walk on. Or I hit her and I take her purse. You should go to jail for like 10 years. You should go to jail for an incredibly long time for that kind of crime. Because that's not the kind of person you want in society. This guy, you punched someone at a hospital. I'm imagining it wasn't provoked. I'm imagining that you're crazy. You go to jail for a long time for that. You don't get to go out on the street. You don't get to play with all the nice, normal people who just, like me, who want to just go about and live our lives and function in society because you've demonstrated you can't. It's the same kind of thing with violent crime of any type. Random, unprovoked assaults. The guys who walk around and punch random people on the streets. The guys who run up behind someone and punch them and steal their bag. The guys who pull guns out and point them at people and rob them. The guys who go to stores and pull a gun out and threaten someone. These unprovoked violent crimes need to have incredibly harsh prison sentences. Because you don't want those people on the streets. Because I'm not interested in society that has to do with that. If you want to randomly hurt people, not fighting words, not we engaged in fisticuffs, not, something happened. I'm talking random, unprovoked assault. Go to jail. Stay there. And this judge who looks at a guy like this, who clearly is that kind of person. You punched 4 women in front of a hotel. I'm assuming that the women didn't go, come on, let's fight. And then he got in a fight with 4 women. I'm assuming that he just punched 4 women. Go to jail forever. Stay there. No rehabilitation for you. You lose. Oh, this was actually your 47th arrest, and this one was a random violent assault. Jail forever. Just like that Parks and Rec clip. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. All right? That's where this guy goes. And judges don't seem to get that. Those are the people that you have to lock up. It's not... People who demonstrate repeatedly with low-level crime that they can't follow the rules, they go to jail. That's what I think. You go to jail. I don't care how many times you get arrested for low-level crimes. You go to jail. It doesn't matter. I don't care how small the crime is. If I steal a candy bar today, I get arrested. And I steal a candy bar tomorrow, and I get arrested. And I steal a candy bar the next day, and I get arrested. And the day after that, and I get arrested. And you're looking, and you say, hey, man, this guy's been arrested 5 times in the last month. Go to jail. Jail. Immediately. For candy bars, yes. For spray painting buildings, yes. Whatever it is, small crime. I'm not for sending someone to jail because they make a mistake. Okay? There's a difference between a hungry person stealing a loaf of bread because they're hungry and a person punching 4 women in front of a hotel for no discernible reason. There's a difference in these kind of things as crimes, and I think most rational people can see that. Most rational people can understand. Crime is a catch-all term. Not every person who commits crime is morally reprehensible, but a person who randomly commits violent crimes against other people, bad, straight to jail. And we need to start doing that as a society. And these prosecutors who don't do it and these judges who don't do it need to be disbarred. They need to be recalled. Whatever the case may be, they need to lose their jobs. And we're going to talk about, let's just real quick, because I've gone way too long. Look at this video. Look at this video right here. Oh, let me find it. Hold up. Hold everything. Okay. Look at this video.
You did. It's very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really...
Straight to jail. Straight to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Straight to jail. That was a... Sorry here. I got to look up the name here real quick. So that is Savannah Antayo. I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the name correctly. That's who's a pro-life activist and host of Her Patriotic Voice. Our Patriot Voice. That was her being assaulted by this animal, Brianna Rivers. This lady was injured during that. She had to go. She had $3,000 worth of medical bills because she had to get stitches because she got cut from the assault. Rivers was charged with second-degree assault. The case was dismissed. You say, what? How? It's on video. How could it be dismissed? Well, Alvin Bragg, yes, the same Alvin Bragg that we despise, forgot. Oh, it just slipped his mind. He forgot to turn over discovery on time, which resulted in the charges being dropped. This was after his office downgraded that to a misdemeanor. By the way, this is the exact kind of thing I'm talking about. You're having a debate. You're losing the debate because you're not that bright. And then instead of saying, I don't want to talk on camera anymore, you punch this lady in the face. Straight to jail. It's not a question. But activist judges and DAs like Alvin Bragg and these people, this is the opposite of justice. This lady, again, I'm so sorry if I'm not saying her name correctly. Antao? What is it? I'm so sorry. Savannah. Miss Savannah. She filed a lawsuit against Rivers, and I'm not sure, but I hope she also files one against the DA's office. I'm going to fact check that. If she didn't, she should. She should sue Alvin Bragg. She should sue the DA for a miscarriage of justice. She should get paid because it's ridiculous that she didn't get her day in court. And I don't care if Alvin Bragg apologized and said he dropped the ball. Judges like Teresa, DAs like Alvin Bragg, these people who do not hold criminals responsible, recalled, possibly imprisoned. That's the extreme version of it. Anyway, I wish St. Louis had one. Kim Gardner, she was the worst. She got ousted from her position. It was a great day in the history of this city because we had national news stories in consecutive weeks that made us look terrible for our crime. And it was embarrassing for the city. And eventually she got ousted, which it was great. We need the same thing in Chicago. We need the same thing in New York. We need the same thing in San Francisco. We need these people to leave. We need crime to be policed and send these criminals to jail. That is where they belong. Let's hope it happens in Chicago and New York. I doubt it because with Mondani being elected, clearly New York is not one to go in the right direction. But I have hope. Anyway, I want to leave it there. I got a little ranty. I know how I get. Sorry about it. But I'm going to leave it there for the week. As always, questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the space below. Comments and likes always really helping the algorithm, so I always appreciate it. Even the negative ones. Come on, bring it on. I ain't worried about you. Say what you want to say. All right, come step to me. And we'll see. We'll see it. Anyway, I'm going to catch you guys next Friday. Hope you have a great week.